Imagine this. You're walking down the street. The day feels normal, and then suddenly a thought slams into your mind like a thief in the night. What if I pushed that person? What if I jumped in front of that car? What if I screamed something awful right now? The thought feels so shocking, so disturbing, that you immediately wonder, what is wrong with me? Why would I think this? It is in moments like these that intrusive thoughts reveal their power. They appear uninvited, unwelcome, and often at the worst possible times. But here's what psychologists want you to understand from the very beginning. Intrusive thoughts are not proof of who you are. They are not hidden messages about your desires, and they are not signs that you're broken. They are simply thoughts, and thoughts do not equal intentions. Yet because they are so intense, so vivid, and so opposite to what you value most, they stick. They cling to your awareness like a burr in your mind. Psychologists have studied intrusive thoughts for decades, and one of the first things they discovered is that nearly everyone experiences them. Yes, everyone. Even the calmest, kindest, most balanced people you know have at some point been struck by bizarre or disturbing mental images. The difference is not in whether we have them, but in how we respond to them. Some brush them off like passing clouds, while others spiral into guilt, shame, and fear, believing the thought must mean something deeper. This difference in response is where the trap is set. Cognitive psychology explains this using what's called thought-action fusion. It's the belief that thinking about something terrible is morally equivalent to doing it, or that having the thought makes the event more likely to happen. For example, a mother holding her baby might suddenly think, "What if I dropped him?" and then panic that the thought alone reveals something dark inside her. But this is not how the mind works. Thoughts are not prophecies, and they are not confessions. They are flickers of neural activity, sparks in a brain that never stops generating possibilities. In fact, the very reason intrusive thoughts feel so disturbing is that they are usually the opposite of your true self. They attack the values you hold most sacred. Take another example. A deeply religious person might suddenly have a blasphemous image or phrase explode in their mind during prayer. The thought horrifies them precisely because faith matters so much to them. Or someone devoted to their partner may be suddenly struck by a mental picture of betrayal, not because they want it, but because their mind is testing the very boundaries of loyalty. Psychologists call this the paradox of thought suppression. The more you try to push the thought away, the stronger it becomes. Imagine being told not to think of a pink elephant. What happens? The pink elephant barges right in. This is the cruel trick of intrusive thoughts. The harder you fight, the more they return. Research shows that people who get trapped in this cycle often develop secondary problems like anxiety, obsessive-compulsive tendencies, or depression. They begin to see themselves not as victims of unwanted mental noise, but as villains secretly capable of harm. Yet here is the truth that can set you free. A thought does not define you. What defines you is your actions, your choices, your character. Intrusive thoughts are like junk mail delivered to your mental doorstep. You didn't ask for them. You don't have to open them. And you certainly don't have to believe they reveal anything true about you. But if the solution were as simple as ignoring the thought, why do so many people struggle? Because the human brain is wired for meaning. When something shocks us, we search for explanations. Why did I think this? Does it say something about me? Am I dangerous? That search for meaning leads to overthinking, and overthinking pours fuel on the fire. The result is a loop: intrusive thought, emotional reaction, attempt to control it, thought returns stronger. Breaking that loop is the key, and psychologists have identified several powerful ways to do it. One of the most effective strategies comes from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Instead of trying to eliminate the thought, CBT teaches you to change your relationship with it. If a disturbing thought appears, you don't argue with it. You don't wrestle it. You don't run from it. You observe it, label it, and let it pass. You might even say to yourself, "That's just an intrusive thought. It doesn't mean anything." By stepping back and seeing the thought for what it is, you strip it of its power. This approach connects to mindfulness practices as well. When you learn to watch your thoughts like clouds drifting through the sky, you realize you are not the storm. You are the sky itself. Still, Many people resist this idea. They feel that if they don't analyze the thought, it will sneak into their behavior. But the evidence shows the opposite. By clinging to the thought, you give it strength. By letting it go, you weaken it. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand because you think it's your duty to figure out why it's hot. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. The moment you drop it, the pain begins to fade. Intrusive thoughts are the same. And yet, there's something even deeper here. Psychologists note that intrusive thoughts can also be windows into how the brain processes fear and morality. They expose our hidden anxieties, our deepest values, and our relentless drive to be good people. The fact that you recoil in horror at the thought is itself proof that it is not who you are. If you truly desired the action, the thought wouldn't disturb you at all. But here's something many people don't realize. Intrusive thoughts are not just about violence or taboo images. They can also be about self-doubt. Thoughts like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I embarrass myself in front of everyone? What if I fail and everyone sees? These are intrusive, too. They intrude on your self-esteem. They invade your sense of identity, and they can freeze you in place. Some of the most damaging intrusive thoughts are the ones that whisper rather than scream. They slowly chip away at your confidence until you believe they are telling the truth. So what do psychologists want you to know about all of this? The first thing is crucial. A thought is not a fact. Your brain produces thousands of thoughts every single day, and not all of them are meaningful. Just because a thought appears in your mind doesn't mean it defines you. Think of it this way. When you hear a commercial jingle stuck in your head, you don't assume it reveals your secret desires or identity. You recognize it as noise. Intrusive thoughts are the same. They are mental noise, not your essence. The second thing psychologists emphasize is the paradox of suppression. The more you try not to think about something, the more your brain insists on bringing it back. If I say, don't think about a pink elephant, your brain instantly pictures one. Suppressing intrusive thoughts often makes them stronger. That's why people fall into cycles where the harder they resist, the more relentless the thoughts become. So how do you break free from the cycle? Psychologists often point to mindfulness. Instead of trying to push the thoughts away, you observe them with detachment. You acknowledge, that's just a thought, and let it drift past like a cloud in the sky. You don't chase it, you don't fight it, you don't engage with it. Over time, this reduces the power of intrusive thoughts because they thrive on resistance. When you stop resisting, they lose their grip. Another powerful approach is cognitive behavioral therapy, especially a branch called exposure and response prevention. It works by gently and gradually exposing you to the thoughts or fears that trigger anxiety, while teaching you not to perform the rituals or avoidance behaviors that usually follow. This retrains the brain, teaching it that the thought does not equal danger and it doesn't require a desperate response. Slowly, the brain stops treating intrusive thoughts like alarms, and they begin to fade into the background. But there's also a deeper layer. Intrusive thoughts can sometimes reveal where we feel most vulnerable. For example, if you constantly worry about harming someone you love, that usually means you deeply value their safety. The thought is not an expression of hidden desire. It's the brain's clumsy way of highlighting your fear of loss. Psychologists suggest that instead of judging yourself for the thought, you can look at what value it points to. Often, intrusive thoughts are the shadow side of your care, your love, your responsibility. Still, it's important to note that intrusive thoughts are not always benign. If they're constant, distressing, or interfering with daily life, they can be a symptom of conditions like OCD, PTSD, or severe anxiety. In those cases, seeking professional help is not only wise but necessary. Too many people suffer in silence, believing their thoughts are a personal flaw or moral failing. But the truth is, they are a recognized psychological pattern with effective treatments available. Think of the brain like a radio. Sometimes, the signal is clear, but other times static interrupts the broadcast. Intrusive thoughts are that static. They do not represent the whole station. They don't reflect the message you're trying to broadcast with your life. The static is irritating, sometimes overwhelming, but it can be managed, tuned out, and reduced. And just because the static is loud doesn't mean the real signal is gone. Here's what I want you to remember. Intrusive thoughts lose their power when you stop confusing them with your identity. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness noticing those thoughts. And that awareness is far greater, far steadier than the temporary storms passing through your mind. So the next time an intrusive thought strikes, pause. Remind yourself, this is not me. This is just a thought. Don't fight it. Don't fuel it. Let it pass, like a bird flying across the sky. The more you practice this, the more your mind learns that thoughts can come and go without controlling you. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with intrusive thoughts? Did they feel overwhelming? Or did you eventually find a way to loosen their grip? Share your experience in the comments. I promise you're not alone, and your story might help someone else who feels trapped in their own mind. And as always, remember this. Your mind is vast, resilient, and capable of incredible clarity, even when clouds of intrusive thoughts drift through. You are more than the noise, more than the fear, more than the illusions your mind creates. Never forget that. If you found value in this video, give it a like and subscribe for more insights into psychology and the human mind. Together, we can bring light to the hidden corners of thought and remind ourselves, and each other, that peace is possible, even in the most restless of minds.